A superhuman is an entity with intelligence or abilities far beyond that of a regular human. I mean, they're fascinating. Superhumans are portrayed in movies, books, music, just about anything you can think of. You've got superhumans working their way in somehow. I mean, they can be genetically engineered, they can be born that way, it can be just a natural affinity. There's so many different ways you could think of how a superhuman is portrayed and how a human can be super, so to speak, that, I mean, the possibilities are endless. There's a variety of reasons. You could argue someone just has a natural affinity, maybe they're really good with numbers. There's a guy that you see wandering around TV show circuits all the time that's a walking calculator. Basically, he could add 89,000.2 plus the square root of 98, and he could just do it in his head. I mean, there are people like that. There's a woman that can't forget. There's a lot of things in that sense. Delving more into the fictional realm, though, you could argue that's not too far away. Genetic engineering, you could say that they're artificially produced. You could take Wolverine, for example. Wolverine just had a mutation. He heals at an accelerated rate, and a few whacked out doctors decided to make use of that and grafted the strongest metal known to the Marvel Universe, adamantium, for those keeping track, onto his skeleton. It would have killed anyone else, but he had that ability, so they could take him. He was super to begin with, he already had this mutation, and they furthered it through their experiments. And then there's still, you could argue that taking that whole, just being a mutant part, and putting a magnifying glass on that, that's just, a lot of people could argue that that's just a furthering of human evolution, that it's just the next step. Pretty soon we're all going to be flying and generating our own heat and electricity and things, because we're just going to have that ability. It's just survival of the fittest. Darwin talks about in Origin of the Species how superior traits are passed on through reproduction to further generations so that a species can better survive. And if us finally growing wings or making our own heat is going to help us survive in the long run, then that's just how it's going to go. The easiest thing to say is that we always want what we can't have. Whether that be the cute girl down the hall, the presidency, world domination. We want it, and then when we get it, we either get bored with it or realize how much of a responsibility it is. I mean, if you go back to Spider-Man, the classic line is, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you think about it, we envy superhumans because they can do these fantastic things, that they're really so different, but they're just like us. They have that moral compass and everything, and we envy the fact that you have almost an ability to act on your impulses more. You have that power, it gives you a sense of confidence, it gives you this drive, and you have that ability, you have that backup. You know, if I see something going wrong, or if I see something I want, theoretically in your head you just have it rationalized that you can go get it. I can shoot webs, I can crawl on walls, I can heal really fast. If I get injured, it's not going to matter because I'll be back to running speed in 5 minutes. Regardless, we see it as this almost holy grail kind of situation that, if I just had these powers, it'd just be perfect. I'd never be late again if I had super speed. I don't need to take the elevator, I don't need stairs anymore, I can fly. It's a moot point. I hate the rain, I have weather control, I can live wherever I want, and it doesn't matter because it will never rain while I'm there. We want it because we think it'll make our lives easier. We want these powers, we want to be a superhuman. When really we haven't thought about the implications of that. It's an interesting question, and I think even in terms of this question, morality is kind of a universal thing. I think everyone has almost an inherent set of right and wrongs that's bestowed upon them through their culture, and superhumans are no different. It's just a different culture, and so maybe the values are a little bit different. Maybe they're more apt to resort to their powers, resort to force if their powers relate to it. But other than that, it's a really similar thing to what we do as regular humans. Though what would be interesting to think about is social contract theory and how that applies to it as well. Like how maybe they don't other themselves through their morals, but their powers themselves other them from other people just inherently, and how that would affect their views of morality and equality. I think we're afraid of them for the same reason we envy them. They're so similar that it seems so possible that these people can have these powers. While it seems great in theory that you could have someone that's your friend that can control the weather and can clear up the day, can clear up the rain for your soccer game that afternoon, it's still just terrifying to think of someone who could maybe mentally control magnetic fields around the earth or light themselves on fire with no physical harm and walk down Main Street. It's completely terrifying. Like if you think of the comic books, there's a superhero, the Sentry. The Sentry has, as billed in the comic book, the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. He's one of the most powerful superheroes ever. But he has a split personality, the Void. Whenever he uses his powers, the Void kicks in and kills somebody for every one person the Sentry saves. And when you think about it, if these people have these powers, there's no guarantee that they're going to be ethically or mentally stable enough to use them in a responsible manner, and that's what's so scary. They could seriously go for God knows how long, wander the streets, unbeknownst to us, and still completely and totally have control. Definitely. I mean, we talked about the natural affinity. We've already talked about Mozart. Another example is Joe Price. Joe Price is 43 years old. She lives in Los Angeles, California, and she is billed as the woman who can't forget. In actuality, she has OCD of the memories. She just lives her life as she describes it in split screen. Half of her mind is processing what's happening in present, and half of it is running through her memories at a constant rate. She's obviously a very sentimental person, and so she's always analyzing her memories, and so she can recall any date, any events that happened that date, down to what day it was, and even often what the weather was like from when she was 14. They've done multiple tests, tons of psychologists. She's been a subject in many psychological journals, such as Neurocase, and it's odd how her power works, how her memory works. She's constantly thinking about her memories, and so when they test her, if anything directly relates, if she can directly relate it to her own experiences, she remembers it like it happened 5 minutes ago. She can tell you when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded. She can tell you all these different minute details to the point where she's so confident she values her own memory over that of, say, a book or something like that. She was on an interview once, and they were quizzing her, and she was asked about a monumental death that was pretty big in history, and what one it is escapes me, but she said it was, say, June 10th, and the book said June 12th, and they told her that she was wrong, and it didn't even occur to her that she could be wrong. And within a minute, the producers of the TV show had to say that, no, the book's wrong, she's 100% right. If you take it into the comic book realm again, there's Y, The Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan, and that the main character in that is Yorick Brown and his pet capuchin monkey, Ampersand. And the basic plot of The Last Man is some mysterious plague or some event causes every mammal with a Y chromosome to die, just simultaneously. But for some reason, Yorick and Ampersand, the man and his monkey, don't die. They're the only things left on Earth with a Y chromosome. Which, of course, there's the implications of what you think that's going to be, but it really turns into a story of how they're going to deal with this almost, in a sense, new world order that it's all women and just one man. He's instantly become a superhuman, despite having no powers to speak of other than an incredibly resilient Y chromosome.